Hello and welcome to our conversation on NaturalPod Live. This is a conversation platform for educational leaders to inspire each of us to envision what's possible. My name is Bridgitte Alomes. I'm a mother, a nature lover, a dancer, and the founder and CEO of NaturalPod. Our mission is simple: to ensure every learner and educator has a practical, healthy, sustainable environment to learn, enabling them to reach their full potential. And today we'll be having a conversation with a very special guest around pursuing passion to make an impact on learning. You're invited to join in the conversation by commenting or providing questions in the chat box, and we'll interject those as we go along during our time today. But without further ado, I would love to welcome our guest today, Jerzell Pierre-Louis. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Bridgitte. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. I am so excited to have this conversation with you today. And thank you for joining us. It's really wonderful. Well, Jerzell, wonderful. Well, let's get started. And I think that, you've got so much to share today. And I don't know how we're going to pack this all into 45 minutes, but we're going to do our absolute best today to do that. But let's get started with the most important question for me in terms of how to set the stage. So of course, I'm curious to learn more about the work you're doing today. But first, let's start at the beginning. As a wee child, what did you want to be when you grew up and why?
Well, that's a great question. I would say that I wanted to be a lawyer. You know, back in the day, I would watch The Cosby Show, and you had the Huxtable family.
That
was my dream, to be a lawyer, to be the next Claire Huxtable. So that is what I envisioned for myself.
And why was that your vision? Why was that your passion when you were little? Do you know why? What inspired you?
Because she was a person who helped others, no matter how large or how small the situation was. And she did it well. She did it with grace. She was able to raise a family. She made it look really easy. And so that really appealed to me. It really appealed to me.
She made it look easy. What would you say to that little girl right now?
Oh, nothing worth having is easy. It's hard work. If you're pursuing your dreams, it's hard work.
Hard work, yes. I think that is, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. You know, it's interesting when someone looks at someone else and goes, oh, that looks really easy, I'm going to follow that. You know, you want to indulge in that spark that, yes, to follow your passion is something that you should be doing, but it does take work. How would you describe what the work looks like? What do you mean? Like when you think about it's hard work, like how do you get to finding what you're really passionate about?
Well, passion looks different to everyone, but
Right.
for me, it's really about making a difference. Being there to support, especially in the field of education, being there to support the little ones, as well as partnering with their parents,
Yes.
figuring out this educational journey for them. For me, it's the passion behind knowing that I'm making a difference. And it starts at a very young age.
So then it doesn't feel like hard work, right? When you're making a difference?
It doesn't. I don't bemoan going to work. I love the impact that I'm making. I love my families. I love the partnerships that I have with the parents. And I treat each kid that comes through the door as if they're my own. And I'm very fortunate to be doing this work. Very fortunate.
That's beautiful. So let's go back to what actually led you to childcare. How did you get there?
Oh. Well, this is not so great story, but my background is in education. So I pursued my undergrad in education, my master's in education, but I wasn't working in the educational field at the time. Always had the dream of becoming owning my own childcare center, but just didn't. You hear people say you can't be successful in this industry, you can't do this, and so all of those different voices.
Yeah.
steered me in other directions. I was working a job, loved it, loved it, loved it, and I was fired from it. Unfortunately, it was a case of a young lady came to me and told me that she was being sexually harassed. I had a choice to make. Do I support her or do I stay quiet? I
Right.
decided that um, I would say something, I would speak up. And unfortunately, I became the scapegoat for the situation, but nonetheless, it is what catapulted me into my purpose. So
Mm.
I don't bemoan the experience. I'm thankful for it because I wouldn't be here today.
Hmm. You know, that's a really beautiful reflection from a very difficult situation, right? I think many of us can look back, certainly at different moments in our lives where we've been catapulted something by an event, and whether we were asking for it or not, or whether we chose it or not, sometimes those events help to awaken the
Yes,
possibility of what's really there. And to be able to look back and see that as a gift, Jerzell, that's very inspiring.
it truly was. I didn't see it then. It was a very painful moment, but I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't take it back.
So, from that moment to where you are now, can you talk a little bit about the journey of discovering that you really wanted to create these centers and that you really wanted to bring these communities together? And of course, now you have two incredible centers, Sprout and Bloom. And we're going to talk more about the impact you're having on your community, which is profound.
Thank you.
But what led you to that, from that moment of, I've got to do something different. I've got to follow my passion to now having these two incredible centers.
Well, going back to when I was a little girl, there was a neighbor. Her name was Miss Aldrich. And I've never shared this with her. So I hope you're listening, Miss Aldrich. She owned 2 to 3 childcare centers. And I
Right.
remember the impact that she made on the community, and on me. And so I relished in that. And I remembered that feeling. And I remembered um, the work that she was doing. So I had always said, hey, I'm going to open my own center, open my own center. And so one of the things that was very important to me in opening is really creating a culture of integrity based
Mm.
on where I had come from, the situation I had come from. Oftentimes, women are in the childcare space. They work in the childcare space. I would say 90% of our employees are women. And I wanted a place where they had a voice. I wanted
Mm.
a place that was full of integrity. And I wanted a place where it could catapult them and support them in their personal and professional goals. So that was important to me in creating culture. The other thing that was important to me was creating an environment for children that was very nurturing,
Mhm.
creating an environment that says you belong, you're accepted here, and supporting them, the children, on their educational journey.
Wow, sorry, I mean, I just I got, a little bit choked up there when you shared that. I mean, like a place of authenticity, you wanted to empower other women, give them a choice to have voice, to give them a place where they feel safe and they can thrive. I mean, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to really focus on. So you've taken this experience that really catapulted you and shifted you and helped to reshape where you wanted to be. And now you're doing that for others and creating space for them to really thrive. That is quite remarkable and inspiring. And so thank you for honestly sharing from your heart those pieces. And I mean, the values that you have in your center, I mean, in your spaces and the community. And I don't want to say center because it's not just one, it's beyond that. The values you've created in your community around compassion, accountability, service to others, how to embrace knowledge. And, one of my favorite things is how to have fun, right? Um, I love to have fun as much as I can and to remember the joyful moments. But how do you like? What is your secret sauce? Like, how do you hold those values each day?
Through example, everything starts and ends with me. Um, I am a nurturer. by nature. So what I do is I show my staff and I show others around me how to treat each other, how to
Mhm.
bond, how to grow, and then set myself as an example of if there's something that you want, whether it's pursuing your CDA or getting your bachelor's, let me support you in the path to how. And so
Yeah.
it's not just about my staff coming and working each day. How can we improve upon their lives? And that's really a big part of our culture. And secondly, we are really setting the foundation for the future. And so each interaction, each experience that the children are having while they're in our care
Yeah.
matters. And so
Yeah.
making sure that that is a priority, in terms of those interactions. And of course, education. Yeah, education.
Mm. So would it be fair to say that you're really embodying how the educators model themselves, which
Yes,
then reflects down to the children is what you're trying to hold each day?
yes, that's exactly what we're doing. We
Yes. Yeah.
modeling, and it starts from the top. I
Yeah.
have a great director of operations. Again, she carries those values forward. So does my directors, as well as my leadership team. So we're all working towards making sure and ensuring that this next generation is well suited for the future.
It certainly sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. Let's expand into, talking about, so with the two centers you have, Sprout and Bloom, beautiful names, by the way, I love that. So many things to think about when I hear those words. But can you talk a bit more about what kind of impact the work that you're doing at Sprout and Bloom is actually having in those communities that you're surrounded in?
We provide a stable place, whether
Mm.
no matter what the socioeconomic level of our parents, all are welcome. And I think one of the greatest impacts is community. We have a very diverse population, and it's a cross section of Columbus, and everyone is welcome. Everyone feels welcomed, and that is part of our commitment. And I think the diversity is something that people yearn for within our community. And when I started Sprout, I said that I wanted to be the United Nations of childcare, and I think we've been able to accomplish that.
Yeah, you mentioned that when we initially spoke. Can you talk about the different cultures and communities that you have in your centers?
So it has range. It's very vast. Of course, we have African American kids, Caucasian kids. We have Chinese kids, Lebanese kids, kids that have a Greek background, Jewish kids. Um, just a cross section of Columbus. African kids, you name it, all are welcome.
All are welcome, and I think that is the key thing here, is that you embody all are welcome. And to me, that is something that, you're holding that value, that all is welcome. You do some pretty unique things in your spaces, and one of the things that I read about is that you offer your families get a break once a month, right? So you offered extended services so that parents can, hang out together while you take care of the children. What other things are you doing differently that are kind of like, outside of the box like that in childcare?
One of the things that we started about 2 years ago is a parent education series where we bring in experts throughout the community to interact with our parents. Again, I am here to support them on their parental journey. And so a lot of 90% of our parents are first time parents. So we'll bring in experts such as nutritionists, pediatric sleep specialists. 2 or 3 months ago, we had one of our parents. She's a wills and a trust attorney to talk to our parents about how to set up for their future. So again, our goal is to be a resource to our parents and to support them on their journey.
So you're supporting your educational team, the students, the parents, and your extended community.
Yes.
Is there anyone that you're not supporting that you would like to?
No, I think that's plenty.
It's like, wow, you're hitting all the really key goals here. And I think what I want to ask is, thinking about pursuing a passion, right? When you're pursuing a passion to make a difference, to make an impact in the world. And we talked about it being hard work, and there's obviously lots of moments of joy in creating and pursuing your passion. Looking back now, can you share with us some of the good lessons that you learned that you probably will do again or continue to do? And what are some of the things you think, oh, I tried that, I probably wouldn't do that again?
There's a list. One of the things that I did, I partnered with another individual to expand. And what was clear once I got into that situation was our values didn't align. I started my business based on values, the values that I felt were important. And so in situations like this, time was invested, money was invested. The best thing I could do was to walk away because it wasn't a good fit. And so really sticking to what I value, and what's true to me as a business owner, and what's true to me in terms of my commitment to the community. So that's a situation that I walked away from. But now moving forward, as I expand, I check off the values. I look for the core values, whether I'm partnering, whether it's expanding to a new location. My core values are front and center.
I can really resonate with that. I remember someone saying to me, if you're looking to partner with someone or have them a part of your passion, imagine camping with them for 3 days, right? Can you guys camp together for 3 days? You know what I mean? Put up a tent and problem solve and, start a fire. And I think about that, and I've learned the same lesson too, right? When your values are misaligned. So one of the things that we want to communicate is, you're pursuing a passion, really look at a values alignment in connection. So, would you say that, when you're thinking about values, are you trusting your gut instinct or intuition? You're using your female intuition there a little bit when it comes to things. Is that something that other people considering following their passion should be thinking about?
I think you use all the tools that you have available to you, and that's female intuition. That's your checklist. It is, what does the financial data say? What does the geographic data say? When I first started, it was a lot of gut intuition. Sometimes that wasn't always the best decision. I made mistakes. But I'm sorry.
Yeah, I understand that.
But when I align that, my gut intuition with my values and, data that needs to be analyzed, I'm confident in my decisions. And it again, this work is not without mistakes. I don't always get it right, but I believe in communication, communicating what I need, communicating to everyone who's involved. And in business, you mature. I'm not the same person I was when I started 8 years ago. So there's a maturation process as well.
Yeah. And I would say it's, we're always learning. We're always learning. And I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned too is, it's important to know what you know and know what you don't, and ask for help.
Yes.
And how hard is it to ask for help?
And Bridgitte, I was one when I first started where I always had to have an answer. You're asking me, I must have an answer for that. And so, I know now it's okay to say, I have to get back with you because I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah. Or what do you think? Asking those questions so that I'm number one, I'm centered,
Yes.
and I'm not just responding. And again, does this align with my values? Because if not, I'm not sleeping at night.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's the thing. It's really breaking it down. Someone said, take it day by day, right? One day at a time. And can you go to sleep at night knowing that you did everything that you could? And I think sometimes we want to find all the answers.
Yes.
We want to be able to fix something overnight, but we learn to trust
Yes.
that, at some point you're going to go, well, it's either going to go this way or this way, and I've done the best that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And trust in the process. You obviously have good people, so you're providing them with a lot of really great leadership. Is there any advice that you could give someone who's creating a team to help run their passion, run one of these amazing childcare centers in terms of providing leadership? Is there any kind of sweet spot that you want to share around that?
That's probably been one of the most difficult areas for me. And it takes a lot of trust. You have to trust that, your number one, your number two, or your team will do it with your core values in mind, but they don't have to do it the way you would exactly do it. And so what I did was just a lot of mentorship, talking through things. Um, we read books, from John Maxwell to the EOS system. But again, this is all a part of the mentoring process.
Right.
And we have a lot of candid conversations, whether, I see things one way, the next person may see things. At the end of the day, does it align with my core values, and how can we move forward? So, but it takes a lot of trust to hand over your baby to someone else. A lot of trust.
I'm giggling because I can totally relate. And when I get like, she's so right, I giggle. It's kind of like a nervous thing that I have. It's like, oh yeah, she's so right. I know how hard it is to trust and hand over your baby. But at some point, it is about empowerment. It is about, allowing others to shine through.
Yes.
So they can do the good work in the world. They can emulate your values, and you can do more of it. Now, you've got two spaces. What's next for you? What does next look like? What does the next 5 years look like for you?
Well, the goal is to keep building. There are a lot of children in the world to serve in our Columbus community. So I'm growing my business step by step. I would say more centers. But not only that, it is important that I collaborate with others in the community so that we're building together. And I have a lot of childcare owners that come to me for advice and support. And so we're not competitors. We're here to help the next generation. And so, I lend advice to them and really just collaborating to make sure that our kids are kindergarten ready and ready for this global economy.
It sounds like you really put the children at the center of your work.
I do.
And that you think about like, okay, how do I navigate growth? In a typical business model, people would think about, well, I'm not going to work with my competitors because, whatever that may be. But you're going, no, we can actually collaborate together. Collaboration can lead to great change, right? So you're thinking about collaboration, you're thinking about expanding in the Columbus area. And you said there's obviously many more children to serve. Where do you see the greatest need? Is it in providing more childcare services? Is it more in the educational area? Where do you see the greatest need of support right now?
I'm going to say in childcare, we throughout the pandemic, I think that America has seen that our industry is in crisis. With the president, with the different plans that he set forth,
Yes.
a lot of childcare centers closed during the pandemic, so there's a shortage of providers. Um, so I think that over the next couple of years, building my business, helping others build their businesses so that we could fill the need, because there's a great need. I have a pretty healthy wait list. I just don't have anywhere to put the kids. So
Yeah.
the growth is needed. Access to quality education, early childhood education is needed.
I would say that message is pretty much emulated in multiple parts of the world. There are endless wait lists. There is a lot of childcare that is not provided because there just simply isn't spaces for it. Families are trying to figure out how to do that. And of course, providing quality childcare isn't something that is as easy as accessible as it should be. And I just want to say that the pain that you're feeling, or the challenge that you're feeling there, it is happening in other parts. And, we can all come together going, pursuing your passion will make a difference, because there's really clearly a need that needs to be served.
Absolutely.
So wonderful. So thinking about the future, and we just talked about the future of where you see yourself going with Sprout and Bloom and expanding and making an impact in your community. What do you feel is imperative that we work towards to set up our children of the future for success? Obviously providing affordable childcare and spaces for them, but is there anything else you think that might be missing?
I think that in the space that we're in now is diversity of thought. I think that kids need to experience an environment that's not monolithic, because that creates conversation, that creates acceptance, that creates connection. And in a space where we're so polarized at this time, I think that that's needed. The other thing that is important to me is making sure that children, no matter what their socioeconomic level, are receiving quality childcare in their communities. And so if we're talking about really making change, making sure the kids 0 to 5 years of age have quality care and that they're ready for kindergarten.
And setting them up for success.
Setting them up for success.
Yeah. Have you heard about the imperative of how the first 7 years, however a child learns in the first 7 years, is how they're actually wired for the next chunk, the next 7, 14, and many years of their lives. So the first 7 years are the most important. Have you heard about that before?
Yes. And that's why in my tag is nurture, grow, flourish, because kids have to be nurtured in order to feel confident, in order to take chances, in order to learn in the school environment. And so, there are just some needs that have to be, addressed, such as if a kid comes in and they're not, excuse me, they haven't been fed. It's hard to teach them if they have a, empty stomach. If they're not getting enough sleep, well, it's hard for them to concentrate. So in our environment, we try to make sure that all of those needs are met, that they're nurtured, they feel loved, so that they can learn. And that to me is what sets them up for success.
Yeah, I really feel into that. I talk about that with others, that maybe focusing more on the academics in the early years. It's like if the children are feeling confident and they have wonderful self-esteem, they feel fed and loved, then the learning can flourish. But if they're feeling unconfident, not good about themselves, or sleep deprived or hungry, or whatever it may be, it makes that learning, much, much harder.
And it becomes secondary because they're trying to get their basic needs met.
That's right. Yeah, I really feel into that too. So, we've talked about, how you started your passion and how you followed that and how there was a catalyst moment that pushed you into this. which we're very grateful for, by the way, and moving forward with that. How you've created Sprout and Bloom, how you're supporting the community, and how you're really nurturing the children of the future and how we can set them up for success. What advice, learning about, thinking about all of that and sharing about all of that, if you take a moment, you think, well, what advice would you give someone who's thinking about pursuing their passion, or they're stuck? They kind of feel the passion but can't really get out of what they're currently doing to follow their dreams. What would you say to them today?
I would say really just center yourself. Take a moment and journal. Write down where do you want to be in a year, 3 years, in 5 years, and make a plan. I would ask for help, and not necessarily asking help from families or friends, asking help from someone who is on the path that you would want to be on, another entrepreneur, and really surround yourself with positive information, because really it's all about mindset. That's what I've come to learn. Entrepreneurship is all about mindset, and you have your good days and your bad days, but if your mindset is right and your mindset remains positive, you will be successful. So you nurture that mindset, and make sure you're aligning yourself with people who are on the same path or similar path.
Wonderful. And obviously, you are showing others that it is possible. When people said it's not possible to create a business in childcare, you can't do this, Jerzell. Why are you thinking about this? You said, no, my mindset is clear. I am clear about the passion, and I do know it's possible. And so when you are clear and when these roadblocks come up, it allows you to come back to that centered place and go, yes, this is my passion, and I'm going to follow through with this. I've had the same thing. I've had someone say, this is no way you're going to be able to make this work, Bridgitte. Like manufacturing locally, doing this, following that, putting people first, which is, something that's deeply important to me. And it actually fueled me to do it even more, like to actually say, no, this is possible, and we will have to start somewhere. And yes, I've certainly learned many lessons along the way, and still do each and every day. But every time I walk into a learning environment and I see those children in the spaces that's really nurturing them, has a place of intention, I go, that's exactly why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for the children. That's my kind of impetus of passion, I would guess.
And I have to say, that's how I found you, because your products and the space really spoke to what I was trying to create in our environment. Besides it being beautiful furniture, it's absolutely gorgeous furniture. Just the flexibility that it creates within the learning environment, in addition to it being high quality. We do our best to provide great food for our children within our centers, organic and fresh fruit. I think that the learning environment is no different, so it was worth us investing in that, because good things in, good things out. And so I think the learning environment is just that important, or as important.
Thank you. And I think people are starting to really feel more into that. What are the real values? It comes back to values. At what point you say, well, I really value this, but I'm going to choose this, and it's always about a choice. And at the end of the day, if you could become clear about your values and what's important to you in creating your passion, that it makes finding synergy much easier.
Yes.
I really feel that if you're clear on like what your values are, I do believe it will come and you will find what you're looking for. But the values part is probably the most important part. So, and I'm inspired constantly by entrepreneurs such as yourself, Jerzell, people that are working in education every single day. It's not easy. It is hard work. That gives me a lot of fuel to keep following the passion and drive of making a change. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I look forward to hearing more about your growth and future expansion, and also, more of the lessons learned. How else can we help other entrepreneurs or other people who are thinking of trying to find their passion? Reach out to us, because as we said, asking questions, reaching out, learning from others that have done this, what worked, what hasn't worked. We can share our mistakes, we can share our successes, and really, know that it's okay to ask.
It is.
Because it's possible. It's not easy, but it's possible, right?
And you would be surprised how many people are available if you just ask.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're right. And I have to say, it took me a while to realize that myself, that it's okay to ask. But when you do, it's children. Like, they ask for all these things without even thinking about it. And I love that. It's like, thank you for reminding me it's okay to ask, So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Collectively, we can make a difference, not only in the lives of educators and students, but in the community and parents and other entrepreneurs, other leaders in the work that they're doing, and continue to follow your passion and your heart. So thank you, Jerzell.
Thank you, Bridgitte, for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you to our audience for today. And we will see you next time. And please take great care.